Virginia.
Coffee's hot and 9.95's humming. Short pumps moving and the rush is coming. Grab your keys, hit the road. Let's ride. Rich has the news for the drive outside. Wake up with Rich and win the day. Don't spend your morning playing catch up. WRVA and the city's alive. 7 a.m. It's go time, Richmond.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's 7:03 here on News Radio WRVA. My name is Rich Herrera. This is Richmond's Morning News on News Radio WRVA. It's Friday. Oh, I am excited for the weekend. I'm going over to Virginia Beach to the Military Aviation Museum. They're having a big luau, and I can't wait to see all those planes out there. And hope you guys can have some great stuff to do this weekend as well. We'll talk with Leanne Pillow. She's sitting in for Dave Saunders coming up at the 9 o'clock hour, with everything to do this weekend in Richmond and Central Virginia. So, what are you going to do? Your kids don't have homework because they don't have school right now, but what are you going to worry about when school gets going again? Because there is a reason to worry. Richmond Public Schools say they don't have enough money. Powhatan is going to ask for an increase to their sales tax of 1%. So will Richmond. I have no doubt that we'll see the rest of the counties around the Commonwealth of Virginia increase their sales taxes, or at least asked to, because of this budget that we got from the Commonwealth in Capitol Square. And that's where I want to start today. So Richmond Public Schools have gotten more money contributed from the city than they ever have, and it's still not enough. Right now, they are looking for another $9 million or so. They were anticipating $20 million in revenue extra from the state they didn't get. I got a bunch of different questions I want to ask this morning. I just want to lay it out on the table for everybody. I want to hear what you think. 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. Number one, I'll start at Capitol Square. We were told that the whole budget battle, the extra $1.2 billion they settled on, that money was to go to schools. You remember? Oh, we're fighting for schools and other things. Well, wait a second. If you were fighting for schools, and that's why we are going so long and we are at risk of having a government shutdown, and you were doing this to fund the schools, then I'd like to ask Louise Lucas and Don Scott and the governor, why does Richmond Public Schools need to increase our sales tax? Why does Powhatan ask to increase their sales tax for the schools if you were fighting for the schools, and that's the reason why you wanted the $1.2 billion, because it was for the kids? Folks, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said it right there in the middle of it. If the first thing you tell me is, well, the reason why we're seeking all this extra money, remember Louise Lucas wanted to go out there and repeal the sales tax waiver that data centers got? She wanted to repeal that because she was fighting for the schools. Was she? Were the Democrats in the General Assembly fighting for the schools? Because apparently they didn't fight hard enough, because now you're being asked to increase your sales tax by 1% to fund the short fund of the schools. That doesn't make sense, does it? You fought for the $1.2 billion that you needed from the data centers, that you were going to raid that piggy bank to pay for schools, yet the schools don't have enough. So what did you use that money for? You used it for other things. And this whole thing was just another pile of nonsense. Now, as far as Richmond, the city council is going to ask us to, the voters of Richmond, I don't live in Richmond, I live in Henrico, but I'm going to pay the 1% sales tax when I go shopping in Richmond, which is a lot. So ostensibly, I'm going to be asked to pay for this. You're going to ask us to give you more money out of sales tax for the schools. So we can give it to the city can use that in schools. Can I ask a question? Before you ask the taxpayers to pay more, how much have you done to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse that we have in Richmond city government? How much have you done to get rid of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse that you have in city government? The P cards, the fuel cards, How much waste, fraud, and abuse do we have inside Richmond city government that is this government budget for the city has grown exponentially over the last decade, and it keeps getting bigger. But now you want more money for the schools. Well, okay, I wouldn't mind spending more money if you were more efficient and we didn't have waste, fraud, and abuse. Because you say it, there's waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, clean up the waste, fraud, and abuse, and then maybe you can ask me for more tax dollars. But if you still have waste, fraud, and abuse, and you want me to give you more money, that doesn't square up for me. That's like saying, I've got a big hole in this hose, and instead of fixing the hole in the hose, I'm going to just turn the spigot on and send more water through this. What do you want? More money that you come into the city budgets so more money can get wasted through waste, fraud, and abuse? Yeah, eventually it gets to schools, but it doesn't always add up. It doesn't always add up. All right. So that's the thing for the city. How much waste, fraud, and abuse do you have that you haven't eliminated, which might be able to pay for the extra $9 million that the school district is asking for? If you have waste, fraud, and abuse and it's a couple $1 million, get rid of that, and then maybe you don't have to ask the taxpayers to come up with another 1% sales tax that you'll have for the next 30 years. Because it's not just a one-time deal. You put that sales tax in there, it's never going away. So, to Louise Lucas, Don Scott, and the governor, if this was really about funding the schools, raiding the piggy bank of the data centers, then why are the schools asking us for more money? That doesn't make any sense. City of Richmond, you want to put this on the budget that we raise our taxes by 1%, but you haven't got rid of any of the waste, fraud, and abuse. That doesn't make any sense. Now we'll get over to the Richmond Public School District. They've already said, well, we're going to have to get rid of some of these things. Well, I got a couple questions for you. And we've asked the superintendent to come on the program before on other issues. We haven't been able to get him on. I'll ask him to come back on this one as well. How much have you tightened your budget over the last year? How much have you expanded your budget? My big question is, where did your assumption that you were going to get an extra $20 million, that you were going to get $20 million more than you got? Now, I 100% understand that this budget, thanks to Louise Lucas and the governor and Don Scott and the Democratic caucus in the General Assembly, and again, Scott the independent said, well, aren't the Republicans responsible for this? No, they have no leadership positions. This is 100% Lucas and Scott fighting with each other, and that's why the budget took so long. Or 100% on Louise Lucas, that she waited so long. The Richmond Public Schools had to finish their budget and start their fiscal year before they found out what was in the budget from the state. That's 100% of the Democratic caucus that couldn't get the budget done on time. That's why I was yelling, screaming. This is what happens when you have poor governance and one party rule and you take it down to the very bitter end. The governor actually recalled the General Assembly because she threw in last minute amendments, and they didn't get this thing done till within 24 hours of the old budget expanding. So 100%, this is on the doorstep of the Democrats for waiting so long to pass this budget. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no argument. You can't say anything else other than that. That is a fact. Now, as far as Richmond Public Schools, I would like to know from them, where did your shortfall come from? Your assumption that you were going to get this kind of money. Did you have backup plans, or did you just assume I'm going to have this money, take it for granted I was going to have this money, and if I come up short, you go, oh, let me have the money from the Airbnb tax. Let me have the money from here. Let me have the money from there. Is this poor planning on your side? Is this what I think I hear? An assumption on your side, which means you assume something, and we all know what happens when you assume. You make and right now you're going to make me pay more in sales tax because you assumed you'd have something that you didn't have a guarantee. Did somebody tell you, hey, here's how much money you're going to get from the state? Or do you just assume this is the best estimate and you went with that with your budget? If you did that, then that's mismanagement. Either way, when you mess around with the state budget, you're going to find out. And that's certainly what Virginia did with this budget process taking so long that the school districts didn't have time to react to whatever shell games you played with the money, because it was supposed to be we're fighting for the school. but then you gave the money for the Obamacare subsidies, slush fund to fight Donald Trump, and another slush fund for this and whatever else you threw the money at. Oh, and can I throw this? Can I throw this? Can I throw this out to you as well? All of this goes on while the General Assembly gave themselves a raise. How's that for good stewards of your money? You want to comment? Number for you to join us. 833-804-1140. 833-804-1140. 833-804-1140. The number for you to join us here on the program. All right. Let us remind you, we'll read the best text messages. 833-804-1140, the James River Air text line. What else am I going to tell you about? Oh, I got to remind you about my friends at Lester by Adolph. They're a sponsor of